I'm going to associate myself with the remarks of Senator Shaheen and Senator Alexander. I caught the beginning and the end, but first let me thank you all for your service. And Mr. Ashooh, let me thank you particularly because you've been very responsive.
I'm sorry.
No, that's quite all right.
I'm sorry.
But I just want to thank you because you've been very responsive to questions that my staff has posed. I appreciate that, your skill. But let me follow up because I feel the same way as Senator Alexander and Senator Shaheen. But first, do you have a signed legal opinion that you have the authority to invoke Section 232 against Canada? Do you have a signed legal opinion? Have you, as a lawyer, given you an opinion saying that you have the authority in the Section 32 to invoke it against Canada?
So our authorities from Section 232 come from a law that delegates that authority to the Secretary of Commerce. The Secretary of Commerce delegates the authority to conduct an investigation and make recommendations.
The premise of the investigation is that there is a national, at least a hypothetical national security
that there may be.
There may be.
Yes.
And that has to be validated at least by some factual basis. Otherwise, you could invoke this at the whim or the will of anyone. So I'm asking you, do you have an opinion? I mean, are you following the law, or are you making it up as you go?
Oh, no, we're absolutely following the law. The law actually creates as I said earlier, a low bar to initiate an investigation. And that is primarily our job. We could initiate an investigation and not make any recommendations at all.
So let me jump to the conclusion. Everything you've said today indicates that you feel that Canada is not a threat to the national security of the United States, that, in fact, they are integral, as Senator Alexander points out, to our national defense. So there's only one conclusion, that you will find that Section 232 does not apply to Canada. Is that correct?
Section 232, under the investigation, we concluded that this was a global problem. There was no specific country recommendation other than an exclusion for Canada.
At the end of your report, you are going to have to conclude if Canada is subject to these tariffs, correct?
No, sir. We don't make conclusions. All we do is recommend what it would take to get to that 80% utilization. And there are several ways to do it. Specific countries or broad tariffs that are country agnostic.
And how is that related to national security? If you can suggest that, for you're telling us that you could impose such rigid tariffs on Canada that they provide no steel to the United States.
Well, again, the path to that 80% could be done many ways. That was not necessarily part of BIS presented ways that could be done, but ultimately that was a White House decision that differed from the recommendations that BIS made.
Excuse me. I think you're absolutely trying to do your best, but I don't think you have the legal standing to invoke a national security tariff on Canada. You might have other reasons, but not national security. And here's the position. Here's the reality. Cut to the chase. When I go to Afghanistan, I've been there about 16 times. Should I go up to one of those Canadian soldiers and say, gee, why aren't you helping us? Because you're really impairing our national security. I mean, that's how ludicrous your position is. And not yours personally, but this administration. And you've tried to defend as best you can, but I think it's indefensible. The other irony, I think, is that the whole point would seem to be to reduce the trade deficit of this effort, correct?
No, sir. This is not really a trade action, even though certainly tariffs and quotas are,
So it's for our national security. So we're going to be better off if we prevent companies in Canada that are providing critical parts to us and that are buying our equipment, are also providing long-range protection because of their radar sites for our national security from missile attack from Russia or anyplace else. It's better that we invoke this investigation against Canada.
Well, certainly, sir, in every other thing that I do at Bureau, we're working arm in arm with Canada. The proclamations that emerged from our investigation allowed for special national security relationships and those conversations to happen between countries.
My final point, we do have a special national security relationship with Canada.
Yes, sir.
Therefore, how can you use a Section 232 sanction against Canada, which is based on the failure to have a national security? In fact, it's something adverse to our national security. It makes no sense.
What I
Now,
can tell you is the conversations between countries is occurring at the White House level, and that's, still going on, certainly.
So your position is the president can do what he wants to do regardless of the law and regardless of the facts?
Well, my position is we needed to do the best investigation we could on how to improve steel and aluminum production in the United States, and that's what we did.
Thank you.